Guys, remember on Thursday we had a little lesson on completing the square and solving the quadratic equations that particular way. Well, I'm going to give you a little brief lesson on each part. So first part that we learned was how to solve this type of perfect square problems. As you see on the left hand side of the equation, we can see that this can be made into a perfect square, since if you divide the middle number by half and square that number, we get 25. Now remember, if I divide the middle number by half, which is 5, that number is important because that's the number that's going to go inside the parentheses. So now I can have this equation as x plus 5 squared is equal to 5. Now remember, I didn't change values of this expression on the left hand side. I just made it look a little bit different. And once I get here, I'm going to go ahead and square root both sides of the equations. So I ended up having left x plus 5 is equal to plus or minus square root of 5. Don't you forget the plus or minus. It's very, very important for you to always have that on there. Now I'm going to go ahead and subtract 5 from both sides. So I end up having x is equal to negative 5 plus or minus square root of 5. This wasn't too bad, and this is the very first section of your homework and your test. So let's go ahead and delete everything and let's go ahead and go to part 2. Part 2 is just finding the last coefficient. For example, if I give you x squared minus 8x plus c, I'm gonna ask you to find c and perfect square. And it's very easy to find c and the perfect square both. And you may ask me, is this all? And I'm going to say yes. Alright, so let's find the perfect square. In order to find let's find the perfect square first because that's easier to find. In order for you to find the perfect square, it's always going to be in this form with something like this. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to divide the middle number, which is negative 8, by 2, which gives me negative 4. And that's what goes inside the parentheses. Now, in order for you to find c, the last term, all I'm going to do, I'm just going to go ahead and square the number that I just find, which gives you positive 16. And this is second portion of your homework, which isn't too bad at all. Just rewind it if you really need to see it again. And here's a third portion. Third portion takes a little bit more work, but it's just combination of both the first part and the second part. So let's look at this. How about this? X squared minus 6x plus 10 is equal to 0. Now, as you can see, when you divide the middle number, you get negative 3. 3. It's not writing, but it gives you negative 3. Now, once you square the number, that's going to give you 9, not 10. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and move 10 to the other side by subtracting it from both sides. So I'm going to get x squared minus 6x is equal to negative 10. Now I'm actually leaving you a little room so I can make it so. Now once again, 10 is not our ideal number to be. We want this to be 9 so that we can make it as a perfect square. So since it wasn't perfect square, I'm basically making it a perfect square by putting 9 right here. Now, this is kind of illegal in math terms just because I just added 9 on the left hand side. That means I have to do the same thing to the right hand side, just like this. And I'm going to end up getting x minus 3 squared is equal to negative 1. Yes, now now everything else is the same thing. I'm just going to go ahead and square root both sides. Once again, I'm just going to move it up here. I'm going to get negative 3 is equal to plus or minus square root of negative 1. But remember, we can't have square root of negative 1, right? So that just turns into plus or minus I. That's an I. And add 3 to both sides, so I get 3 plus or minus I. Not too bad. These are the 3 different portions of the test that we will have. Yes, we do have a little fraction part that I need to explain further. That's going to be in a separate video just because that takes a little bit longer for me to explain. But those 3 are it. And remember, if you're getting fractions, make sure you're not just dividing and making it decimal if your decimal is not accurate. If it stops as like 2.25, yes, you can make it as a decimal. But if at any point it goes into like 0.33333 and it never ends, I don't want that as 0.3 because it's not really the same thing as 1/3 or something like that. So there we go.